Welcome to this video where we're going to be speaking about the Hyksos and also continuing our discussion or investigation into the chariot. We will come back and explain this picture, just starting with the image. Let's go to a viewer comments. This is from Andy. It says, "So I just looked up chariots in Egypt and it seems they were invaded by the Hyksos in about 1700 BCE, and the Hyksos had chariots and the Egyptians didn't." Okay, thank you for the comments. Now, this is not definitive or conclusive that the Hyksos did bring the chariot to the Egyptians. So we're not dealing with something conclusive, but it is theorized. So let's work with the theory. Now, this is going to be continuing our discussion on the chariot. So let me just bring you up to speed if you've just come across our channel with this video. Looking at this map for the spread of the chariot, now we see Egypt here for around 1500 BC, but the main thing that we're taking from this image is that Egypt would be getting the chariot coming from the east. But we were putting forward the theory, did Egypt receive the chariot from the west? So let me just show you a video to try catch up if you are interested in this. We did a video, "Can the invention of the chariot reveal the truth about the history of North Africa?" And then it also continues into the next video as well. So both of those videos speak about it. Now, it's interesting that Andy is bringing up the Hyksos and the chariot, because at first glance, this wouldn't really seem to help with our theory, because if we think of the official narrative, the Hyksos would be coming from the east. If we just go back to that picture. So the Hyksos would be coming to Egypt from the east. So it wouldn't really help with our, theory with the, did the chariot come to Egypt from the west? But let's investigate. We spoke about the depictions on the rock art in the Sahara of these chariots, just to show you some of the, why we're considering this region for the origin of the chariot. And then one of our viewers did notice and bring to our attention that this could be a four-legged horse. So that was very interesting. And then I also noticed the head. No, it might not be the head of a human on this depiction. So a very strange image. Let's explain this image that we started with. It says here this could be the procession of the Ayamu, a group of West Asiatic foreigners, possibly Canaanites. And then the person in the lead says here, Abisha the Hyksos. Just so we get an idea of what we're looking at. So the man in the lead, he could be actually a Hyksos, and then these could be Canaanites or described as West Asiatics. Now, even though it says West Asiatics, we mustn't get confused with this West. So that would still mean that they're coming to Egypt from the east. So West Asiatic. So what I would like to do is read the first paragraph for this page. It's quite interesting. It kind of also relates to our previous video, thinking about history, trying to control history, trying to control narratives. Let's read this first part. "If you study fake news from ancient Egypt, you would consider the Hyksos a band of nasty, marauding outsiders who invaded and then brutally ruled the Nile Delta until heroic kings expelled them. In fact, the Hyksos had a more diplomatic impact, contributing to progress in culture, language, military affairs, and even the introduction of the iconic horse and chariot." So that's that information that we're speaking with Andy bringing up. "The story of these two competing explanations reveals much about ancient Egypt and this mysterious group." So the Hyksos are still very mysterious. So isn't it interesting that still, this is a long time after this history, but still, it seems like trying to control the narrative. Who were these Hyksos? But more like what was their rule like? Was it really brutal? So it's like trying to control the image or the narrative surrounding the Hyksos, even though we long time past that history. So what is the truth? Were they brutal and cruel to the Egyptians? Or is it like they're saying here, maybe is this fake news? So we'll try to speak about that as well in this video. So the first source we're going to use, well, let's just go quickly say this as well, just to help for the video, for those that like the details. So the Hyksos, kings of the 15th dynasty of Egypt, and that's the approximate date. So we're dealing with the dynasty of Egypt, the Hyksos. We're going to use this work. It's called Edom and the Hyksos. So there are scholars that consider connecting the Hyksos with the Edomites. And this is by David J. Gibson. So sometimes I don't always fully do the sources properly, but that's the source we're working with. This is the theory that he puts forward for the Hyksos. So they've been described in by these various terms by different historians. So let's read them out. So we have the Hyksos as Asiatic, barbarians, Arabians, Phoenicians, Semites, a people so like the Israelites that the two could rather be easily confused, the one mistaken for the other. So even being confused with the Israelites. So then he goes on to say that the only people that could fit all these descriptions would be the Edomites. And we have scholars that say, is it actually the Amalekites? So the Amalekites and the Hyksos, which is interesting because they try and make a connection with this word, if we go back to find it. So the Aamu with the Amalekites. So it's very interesting if we think about some of these points, because the Hyksos being described as Canaanites, but then in point 5 described as Semites. So that doesn't make sense, because Canaan, son of Ham, and then we're thinking Shemites. So how can they be of Ham and be of Shem? But Esau could actually fit that description, because Esau is a Shemite, descendant from Shem, but then he intermarried with the Canaanite tribes. So that could actually make sense, where the Hyksos could be confused or described as Phoenician or Semites, and then also Arabians. So yeah, very interesting for the Hyksos and the Edomites. Now I just wanted to, I was thinking about looking for other connections with Edom and Egypt, and I was thinking about Hadad. So it says, this is from 1 Kings, that Hadad fled, he and certain Edomites of his father's servants with him, to go into Egypt, Hadad being yet a little child. Just trying to see or understand, is there like a relationship between Edom and Egypt? And it says, Hadad found great favor in the sight of Pharaoh, so that he gave him as wife the sister of his own wife, the sister of Taphanes the queen. So now even this intermarriage with the Egyptian Pharaoh. Now this is several years after the history of the Hyksos in Egypt. But I'm just trying to see, or trying to understand, is there like a relationship? Because if you're fleeing to Egypt, you're going there because you think you're going to be received well. You're going to receive hospitality, you're going to be accepted, and finding favor. So is there a connection with Egypt and Edom, and does it trace back to the period of the Hyksos? Because the Hyksos have been connected to Edom by scholars, not obviously let's say official narratives of the history, but maybe like individual researchers trying to get to the truth and doing similar things like we are, making these connections. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is go back to this theory, because it says here that the Hyksos may have had a Huri element. So what does it mean by the Huri? So this could be referring to the Horites, because we see here that it says that the Horites, now the Horites would be Canaanite tribes, so descendant from Ham, but they are being connected to the Hurrians. So the Hurrians are on the historical record. We could learn about the Hurrians, but they're being connected to the Horites through Hori, descendant of Canaan. But it's just interesting to think about what this could mean, what the name Hori could mean. Notice it says free for Hori, and on this other page it says noble. So free or noble. Now that's starting to sound quite similar to the description for the Ari. Remember, we're speaking about the Arya nations. So the Ari, is this actually being connected here with the Hori? Because we can kind of see that if we see like the Hari. So is that actually connected to the Arya? So we might come back to that if we can find something to support that with the Arya nations. And if you're wondering why I'm using that word, the other way to say it would be Aryan. I just choose to go with that word Arya. So the reason why we're looking at the Horites is because it's saying that the Hyksos may have had a Hurrian element. And then we can also make sense of that, why it could be connected to Edom, because if we get a bit of understanding from the Bible, it says that, and the Horites in their Mount Seir, or Seir. So the Horites were living in Seir, and then we learn, if we go down, I just want to find it for you. I think there's a few ones that we could use here. Meddle not with them. This is from Deuteronomy. For I will not give you of their land, no, not so much as a footbreadth, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau. So Esau took possession of Mount Seir away from the Horites, and so the Edomites are defeating the Horites, and there's even intermarrying with the Horites. So then you can see how the descendants of Esau could take on a Hurrian identity, because they, living in that region and intermarrying with the Horites, that would give Esau, or the descendants of Esau, potentially like a Hurrian identity. So again, that supports this theory of how the Edomites could fit, this profile for the Hyksos. But why are we bringing this up with the chariot? We need to how is this going to relate to what we're saying with the chariot? Okay, so this is going to be very interesting. I came across this page on the civilization called the So or the Sao civilization, and this is in Central Africa. Now I was quite surprised when I read this, but it says, it has been suggested that the Sao were descendants of the Hyksos who conquered ancient Egypt, that they moved south from the Nile Valley into Middle Africa under pressure from invaders, or that they originated in the Bilma Oasis north of Lake Chad. So isn't this very interesting that we have the Hyksos being connected with the Sao people? So it's a civilization in Central Africa. If we try to get an idea of the geography, we're looking at countries like Chad, Cameroon, Nigeria, Central African Republic. So Central Africa. Isn't that very, very interesting? Now, I think either way, depending on which way, whatever is the truth with this. So if we work with the premise that they really could be connected with the Hyksos, this needs to be considered, because the Hyksos are still being described as like a mysterious people. If they are truly connected with the Sao, that would really start to help us understand the Hyksos more. But what I'm trying to say is that it's saying that the Sao, I don't know how you pronounce it, the Sao were descendants of the Hyksos, and they're coming into this region of Middle Africa. So that's one theory. But then it kind of says that maybe they originated in this area. See, that would be very interesting, because then is that not saying that the Hyksos would be coming from this region of Central Africa? Because it says here that the Sao may have simply been indigenous to this region, but they're being connected to the Hyksos. But I think either way, it's going to make us really maybe think differently about the Hyksos, if this is, a true connection. So yeah, that would this would support our theory that we're putting forward. So let's just recap that, where we were saying with the comments that the Hyksos may have brought the chariot into Egypt, but we've been told that the Hyksos would be coming from West Asia. So it would still be coming from the east, like this image is showing. But now we have a connection with the civilization in Central Africa being connected to the Hyksos. So could the Hyksos actually be coming from Central Africa to Egypt? And that would support the chariot coming from the west to Egypt. So yeah, very fascinating. And I want to just try link something to this to, just see if you can make it a bit stronger. So notice here that they dwelt near the Kari River. Let's have a look. We notice this very large river, the Kari River. Now let's think about the etymology again of the Hurrians or the Horites. So notice the Hurrians were called the Huri or the Hari or the Kuri. And then if we go to the Horites, we had Hori or Kori. But on the Wikipedia page, it was, see this variation here. So Hari or Kari. So if the Horites have this etymology of, let's say, Hori or Kori or Hari or Kari, the Sao civilization, so the Sao people living by the Kari River, that seems to be a very similar etymology, or just a similar word we could say to the Horites. So with the Horites living in this this region of Chad, Cameroon, and the Central African Republic, and we think about these Bible verses where it says that that Esau took possession of Seir, so the land of the Horites. So then it became the land of Edom. So the Horites were living in Mount Seir, near the wilderness of Paran. And we see that the words like Hari, Kari, and then we see this river, the Kari River. So I just wanted to show you that because it's nice to try find something to support something that does seem to be quite strange, like the Hyksos being connected with a civilization in Central Africa. But why is it strange? So I'm just trying to speak honestly. When I came across it, I thought, wow, that's strange. But then is it strange if we think about the Hyksos being described as Canaanites, and Canaanites being a son of Ham? Should we really be surprised? I think it's because maybe of our education and the way we think about history and Egypt. Yeah, maybe we've got a lot to learn, and having our eyes opened. Yeah, I'm not going to say any more about that, but I think it's a very interesting connection. So yeah, it could be a very interesting people to try to find more about. And it could also link into one of our other videos. Let me just show you this before we finish. We did a video speaking about the children of Esau being helped by the king of Africa. So the king of Africa was reinforcing the troops of the Edomites in their war against the Horites. Now this is from the book of Jasher. So it's going into a greater detail of the war between the Edomites and the Horites. But they were fighting in the wilderness of Paran. And if you watch that video, watch this video, you'll see how the map we found for Paran is actually very close to this region. If we go back to the map, we'll finish with this detail. I'm trying to think. Here it is. So notice we got Chad, we've got the Kari River, which seems to be the same word on the face of it for the Kori or the Horites. But we were looking a little bit further north for this Paran and this potential battle for the Edomites and the Horites. So it was a bit further north, but it's not too far away from the Sao civilization, which have been connected potentially with the Hyksos, and the Hyksos being described as having a Hori element or a Horite element. So is this what the Bible is bringing to us with the Horites and the Edomites? So I think I'm going to leave it there before I get mixed up. So I just wanted to continue this discussion on the chariot because I think it might come up again if we do get to go to look at the Celts. I think it might come up again, and then also the Horites could come up again with this idea of the Ari being free or noble. Yeah, that's quite interesting. So thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one. This is going to be a little bit of a additional part to the video, unplanned. I forgot to come back to this fake news part that we were reading. Were the Hyksos brutal? Now remember, we are thinking about these connections with the Hyksos and the Edomites, but also in particular the Amalekites. Let's read something about the Amalekites. So this is from Deuteronomy. Moses urged the Israelites to remember to wipe out the Amalekites when they are settled in the Promised Land. This was in response to the brutality the Amalekites showed when they attacked the Israelites during the Exodus from Egypt. So the Amalekites, being known for their brutality, they were attacking people, towards the rear. It goes on to speak about them being, stragglers, being very weak, faint. So attacking the most vulnerable, people that can't defend themselves. So like showing cowardice and brutality against the vulnerable with the Amalekites. And we do have the theory connecting them to the Hyksos. So part of this theory would be that because of the plagues of that period of history with the Exodus, with Egypt being devastated by the plagues, and then when the Israelites were coming out, the fact that they're being attacked by the Amalekites on their way out of Egypt, that the Amalekites could have moved into Egypt, when Egypt was in such a vulnerable state. So that's part of that theory. And then we have historians describing the Amalekites as being, the Hyksos being described as brutal to the Egyptians. But yeah, just very interesting how we, a long time after the history, still trying to control the narrative of the past. It just shows you how important history is. And it's sad the world that we live in, that truth is not valued by you could say most of the world, which is obviously sad. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching this one. Just a short additional part to the video. And also I made a mistake earlier on where I said this history of Hadad. I said, I think several years. I meant to say several hundred years after the history of the Hyksos. So a little bit of a mistake there. Hopefully you knew what I meant. Okay, so that's it for this one. Thanks for watching.